Have you ever been stuck on one trick and just couldn't figure it out? Don't worry, it happens to me all the time. The movements, timing, and precision in skateboarding are really complex and can be quite frustrating at times. So, one good way to progress in skating is to learn how to learn. Better learning habits equals faster rate of learning. Teach a skater how to do a trick and he'll learn that trick. Teach a skater how to learn and he's going to be able to learn any trick he wants. Okay, so let's get started. Here are 5 universal tips you can use to help you learn tricks. Tip number 1. Visual imagery. And by this I mean actually imagining yourself doing the trick. I know this sounds kind of silly, but you'll be surprised how much this actually works. Learning a new trick can always seem more abstract before you try it. So by using visual imagery, that abstract movement is starting to make more sense in your head, which enhances your movement memory for that trick. If you've got a good imagination, you're at an advantage, because the more realistic and vivid you recreate yourself doing the trick in your head, the more effective this technique becomes. It's kind of like if you've had a dream about a trick, and then the next day it just feels more possible. Tip number 2. Repetition. This one is probably the most obvious yet most difficult one. Everyone knows that to get better at something, you just have to keep doing it over and over and over. It's just the way memory works. But it's so easy to get unmotivated and give up after 10 minutes of failure, right? Failure. Such an evil sounding word. Well, actually, failure is good. If you're not failing, you're probably not improving. Sure, if you're practicing tricks you already have, you're retaining, which is good too, but if you want to learn how to get good at learning, you're going to have to get really good at failing. A common routine for me is to fail a trick one day, get a good night's sleep, and then try it the next day, and it just feels way easier. I know it's painful, it's boring, and frustrating, but if you change your outlook on failing as a more positive aspect of learning, you will definitely improve, and it'll be worth it in the end. Tip number 4. Figure it out. Sometimes it might not be enough to break a trick down into baby steps. Maybe you've already broken a trick down into baby steps, but you still can't get it. Has this ever happened to you, where sometimes you've been stuck on a trick for so long, days or even weeks, and then one day you change up one simple movement and it just clicks, and from that moment on you just have that trick on lock? It's kind of like evolution. Accidental mutations in our genes that eventually lead to the right mutation, and that increases our chance of survival. Similarly to in skateboarding, where accidental movements can lead to the success of landing a new trick. Some tricks are going to require power practice like laser flips, and some tricks are going to require more precision practice like late flips. So, when you're trying to figure out a trick, you're going to have to figure out what you need to practice, and you're going to have to try new movements and try different things until you eventually get the right movement. If you still can't figure it out, another thing you can do is film yourself doing the trick and then watch it in slow motion and figure out exactly what you're doing wrong. It can be a lot of things: shoulder turn, foot isn't gripping the board right, timing. It's just really complex. We don't realize it because a lot of this learning takes place subconsciously. Tip number 5. Distributed learning. And by that I mean practicing in more concise sessions is better than practicing in less frequent long periods of time. One explanation for this is because fatigue negatively influences learning during a long skate session. That makes sense, right? You're more likely to learn a trick when you're fresh and full of energy. Another reason why this is true is because when practice is prolonged for a long period of time, cognitive effort is decreased. Performance of the trick becomes so repetitious that eventually it becomes boring, which results in less cognitive effort, decreasing learning. Lastly, distributed practice leads to better learning because of the rest time in between sessions, which allows for long-term memory consolidation. During rest, certain neurobiochemical processes occur that allow for this long-term memory consolidation, especially during sleep. So, get a good sleep after your practice sessions. Of course, we're all busy, and it might be inconvenient to practice in shorter, concise sessions. So what I like to do is juggle 2 or 3 tricks into one long practice session. That way, I don't get bored, frustrated, and stuck on one trick. And if I do get stuck, I'll just move on to the next trick and eventually come back to that trick. This constant juggling of tricks helps to prevent boredom and keeps me focused and motivated. Now, I'm not saying that this is the best way to learn skating. I'm sure there are countless other naturally talented skaters out there that learn super fast without using any of these techniques, and everybody learns differently. But all of these techniques have dramatically helped me progress in skating, so I just thought I'd share it with you guys. Some of these techniques might work for you, and some might not, but it won't hurt to try out. So, thanks so much for watching, guys. If you guys want to see more videos like this or skate videos, be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments below what helps you learn tricks.